Hello, it's the Elite Gur here. I recently read a translation of Metro 2033 on my Kindle, and I greatly enjoyed it. If you don't know the premise already from the book or the game, here's the simple addition. The year is 2033. It has been 20 years since the nuclear holocaust, and the last apparent survivors of humanity are living in the Moscow Metro, which was designed as the world's largest nuclear shelter. A semblance of civilization has sprung up, with each of the stations being small city-states, but mutants and bandits are everywhere, and such a life can only go so long. If you have neither read the book nor played the game, at least go buy one now. Both are excellent works in their own mediums. But here's the question, how does the game compare to the book, or vice versa? I'm just going to throw this out there now. Some game writers were running out of ideas and just nicked some IP on the cheap and stripped it down for content. So the game makes little attempts to resemble the book and just uses the setting and set pieces with its own direction. That, however, does not make it a bad story at all. And the game was incredible. The graphics were very good to suit the excellently crafted environments and characters. The mechanics were good with a nice mix of familiar with new ideas properly integrated, and has a binary moral choice system that doesn't cause certain reviewers to throw their keyboards against the wall. But since positive reviews of such excellent PC games are a dime a dozen, let me move on to the content which I think is, but is certainly not, my own. Let me outline the differences of the book and the game. In the book, the backstory of our Russian protagonist Artyom is completely different. Bourbon, the first guy you escort, is a scoundrel who dies immediately in a scary-as-hell way. Khan, the crazy guy who saves you after the former's death, is less another stalker who has been eating a little bit too much shrooms, and more of a post-apocalyptic Gandalf who doesn't carry a gun and just beats people up with words and somehow doesn't get eaten by things that look like sharks. There's, in general, a lot more supernatural stuff in the book. It's kind of like Stalker logic in that atomic bombs are lined with fairy dust. A lot more stations of varying content are visited throughout the book, too. It's almost as if a lot of them present the different facets of human sin. Artyom also gets captured at a border crossing by the Fourth Reich and doesn't really see the Reds versus Nazis at all compared to wading through a war zone in the game. He then gets rescued by I kid you not, the Che Guevara Brigade. The book also outlines more of the politics at Polis Station because it had both the library and the Ministry of Defense over it, so you have this warring parties idea. A big part of the book is philosophy, and Artyom runs into various religions at varying levels throughout. One of the biggest sections cut from the book is the Children of the Great Worm cult, a cult that believes that a giant worm created tunnels for man to live in. They are kidnapping children and, with a hypnotist, another cut concept, are converting them to the cult. After a rather interesting fight that would have made good gameplay if not for the gunning down children part, Artyom and the hunters that rescue him go to the basement of the Kremlin, in which an evil blob, which is far scarier than the one in the game, has been hypnotizing and dragging people in. The ending is much the same, however, but D6 is found by others, not Artyom, and the twist with the Dark Ones is still brilliant. Enough with the listing. I just want to talk about why they cut all this stuff out of the game as opposed to the book. The first reason, especially pertaining to all the locations, is because they didn't expect an FPS of this type to succeed in a PC-only release. So they couldn't spend a massive amount of time and therefore money on more locations. The second being the subject matter. Religion, for one, is not really mass marketable in many circumstances, and the third reason was to support gameplay, which is entirely understandable, as the book was more of a psychological thriller than about action. But some of that doesn't make sense because some of the cut scenes, such as a chase in the streets of Moscow or fights with the librarians, would have made great gameplay, and Metro could have been the creepiest game of the year had it pulled off some scenes from the book properly. Sometimes I wish that I had modding tools, the skills to use them, and a dozen skilled Russian voice actors to mix some of my favorite scenes from the book into the game, but it doesn't seem to be an option right now. Something more reasonable to wish for is that all the subsequent offshoot Metro books, of which there are dozens, would be translated to English and properly published as ebooks. I'm hoping that Metro Last Light is good, although it's not based off any of the books. So long, it's the Elite Gur signing off.